Hi guys, Andrea Mills here. Today I want to keep talking to you about birthing your own babies. And by that I mean at home without professional assistance, preferably with just you and your husband present. And when Tom and I were going to have our unassisted home birth, the thing that I think is the scariest, probably for everyone, is that fear of death. Death is so scary, I guess, or I don't know if it's really scary. If you're a Christian, it shouldn't be scary at all, but we've been taught to fear it, I believe, and we operate as if there is no God, even though there is. And anyways, I wanted to share with you today a couple of stories that really helped me as I settled these issues in my mind. We have an audio Bible playing in our house 24 hours a day, and just as we were, going through my pregnancy, these stories just kind of jumped out at me. They're not related to each other at all, but I like to think of it now as the tale of two kings, because I have just put these stories together in my mind now. So I'm going to go ahead and first I'm going to share with you about King Asa, and this story is found in 2 Chronicles. I said that word, 2 Chronicles 16. King Asa had been a very godly king, and then at some point he's gonna fight in a battle, and he makes a treaty with another king, and he was not supposed to do that because God had said to him, don't make treaties. You rely on me. You do not rely on other people to help you. The prophet Hanani came to King Asa, and he said, because you relied on the king of Aram and not on the Lord your God, the army of the king of Aram has escaped from your hand. Were not the Cushites and Libyans a mighty army with great numbers of chariots and horsemen? Yet when you relied on the Lord, he delivered them into your hand. For the eyes of the Lord, this is the part I like, for the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. You've done a foolish thing, and from now on you will be at war. Asa was angry with the seer because of this. He was so enraged that he put him in prison. At the same time, Asa brutally oppressed some of the people. Then it goes on to say that King Asa was afflicted. This is the part that actually is relevant here to what I was thinking, but it says King Asa was afflicted with a disease in his feet. Though his disease was severe, even in his illness, he did not seek help from the Lord, but only from the physicians. Then, in the 41st year of his reign, King Asa died and rested with his fathers. They buried him in the tomb that he had cut out for himself in the city of David. So this really jumped out at me because I feel like there is this idea that it's foolish or wrong of us to assume that God is going to carry us through our births unharmed if that is his will. But the whole thing is that if God is real, there is no point in concerning ourselves with what might happen. His will is his will, and if his will is for us to die, can we stop that? I don't think so. And if it's not, then what are we worried about? And again, I'm not saying that going to doctors is bad, but when the automatic Anyways, I was just on a phone call and I totally lost my train of thought, so I'm just going to carry on and just continue talking about King Asa and the fact that God was looking at us to see how we're going to respond to life's experiences. In fact, the whole point of life, physical life, is to refine our spirit, who we are as a person. And he uses the circumstances of our life to test us and to train us. And in this case with King Asa, when he was faced with a physical problem, he absolutely refused to trust God, and he only would trust his doctors. And I guess that's the point that I was trying to make. I'm not sure what I was saying before, but anyways, that when it comes to giving birth, we have become completely irrational, and we put all of our faith in whether it's a doctor or a midwife or someone who's the expert who's going to save us from death, and we are not at all listening to what God tells us, we're not listening to how he designed us, and we're not cooperating and accepting his design. We are trying to control everything. And yes, anyways, that doesn't have good consequences, or good, there's not good outcome when we seek to control and put our faith in human beings. Okay, so the next story that I want to share with you is from 2 Kings chapter 20, and it's about King Hezekiah. And King Hezekiah had been a very good king and obedient to God, and doing what God wanted him to. And it says, in those days Hezekiah became ill and was at the point of death. The prophet Isaiah, son of Amoz, went to him and said, "This is what the Lord says. Put your house in order, because you are going to die. You will not recover." Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed to the Lord. "Remember, O Lord, how I have walked before you faithfully, with wholehearted devotion, and have done what is good in your eyes." And Hezekiah wept bitterly. Before Isaiah had left the middle court, the word of the Lord came to him. "Go back and tell Hezekiah, the leader of my people, this is what the Lord, the God of your father David, says. I have heard your prayer and seen your tears. I will heal you. On the third day from now you will go up to the temple of the Lord. I will add 15 years to your life, and I will deliver you and this city from the hand of the king of Assyria. I will defend this city for my sake and for the sake of my servant David." Then Isaiah said, "Prepare a poultice of figs." They did so and applied it to the boil, and he recovered. So in this story, there's a king who's having a physical problem, an ailment, and rather than first turning to the physicians, he turns to God, and God is the one that tells him then what needs to be done, that he needs to put the poultice of figs on the boil, and that healed him. But it didn't heal him because of Isaiah's knowledge of healing or going to physicians. It healed him because God said, "I'm going to give you 15 more years. Therefore, go ahead and do this." And I think that there's a big, there's this idea, for one thing, that there is no God, and so everything that happens in life is only a natural thing, and that we are controlling what happens. And instead of thinking of it that way, we need to start, or I hope, I can't boss you, I can't tell you what to do, but for me, I want to stop thinking in those terms and start thinking of, when there's a problem, I could say, if someone dies, my mom died of cancer, and I could say that she died because she had cancer, or I could say that she died because it was the time that God allotted for her. The method was cancer, but that's not why she died. She died because it was the time that God said. And the same with this story here, that Hezekiah was healed not because of the poultice of figs. He was healed because God determined for him to be healed. The method was the poultice of figs, but it could have been any other method, and it would have been just the same. And when it comes to birthing babies, we are so hung up on thinking that we have to have professional assistants, experts, that will try to control every aspect of it, that we no longer are listening at all to what it is that God is telling us to do. One of the things that was so amazing to me, you guys may have seen this, but there was a video of an elephant giving birth, and when she had her baby, it came out and it's laying on the ground and it's not breathing, it just lays there, and the elephant she kind of turns around, she backs up and she starts kicking her baby, trying to get it to breathe, and that's not working. So then she takes her trunk and she grabs the baby's trunk like this, and she starts lifting the baby's head up and dropping it, and she does that several times, and then finally the baby takes a breath, and then she helps the mama helps the baby get up, and everything's fine. And as I watched that, I just thought to myself, that elephant knows what to do in an emergency situation. She dealt with it, and we all could deal with it if we were not afraid to deal with it. And we're afraid because experts have trained us to be that way. We are submissive to them because we've been led to believe that we should put our faith in humans rather than in God. And I'm not at all trying to say that doctors themselves are bad or whatever. It's just the system as a whole, I think, is so it's so backward, I guess. And I know that there's so many people that will say, yes, but if I had not had my baby in a hospital, it would have died, or I would have died, or some terrible thing would have happened. And all I can say is nobody actually knows that. We don't know what would happen if you had been home. We don't know that there would have even been a problem if you had been home. And maybe there would have been. Maybe you would have died. Maybe that would have happened. But ultimately, God is the one in control of those things. And to automatically place the decision making into someone else's hands and to put our faith in a person is, to me, a very bad idea. And I want to be a person who remembers that there is a God. He is watching what I'm doing. He is testing me to see how I'm going to respond. He comes to the aid of the people who are listening to him. And death is not the worst thing in the world at all. It's just the way that we go to where God is. So even being afraid of it is really ridiculous. Anyways, I'm not sure where else to go with this, so I'm going to close for now. But I want to keep talking about this subject and keep sharing things that I have learned. And so if you have not subscribed and you're interested in continuing this conversation on birthing your own babies, please do that. And in the meantime, you can check out the rest of my channel and see what else I've got on there. And we will see you again soon.